Welcome to StarWatch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing the name that carried your dreams for years has quietly vanished from beside yours. No more Xiao Zhan in front of Xiao Zhan. One day it is there, the next day gone. And then you look at Wang Yibo, still carrying the word UNIQ like a tiny badge stitched onto a brand new designer jacket. How long will that badge really matter to the industry, to the public, and to him? Tonight on StarWatch Now, we are not just talking about two superstar idols. We are talking about labels, identity, and the moment you finally step out on your own. Stay with me because this story is about all of us more than you might think. Your global window into the stories behind Asian entertainment, told for viewers in America, Korea, Japan, Australia, France, Canada, Indonesia, and across Europe. If you are new here, hit subscribe so you never miss the stories behind the headlines. Today's question is simple but powerful. When Xiao Zhan takes off the Xiao label, and Wang Yibo still carries the UNIQ name, what does that really mean in a fast-changing entertainment world? This is not just gossip. This is about how long a group identity can survive when an individual becomes bigger than the brand that created him. There is a quiet kind of revolution that happens when a name changes. For Xiao Zhan, the moment the Xiao Zhan label was no longer placed in front of his own name was not just a technical adjustment on a profile page. It was a symbolic closing of one chapter and the opening of another. Years ago, he was simply one of several boys standing under the same spotlight, sharing the same microphone, learning how to breathe in sync with a team. The group name was a shelter, a shield, and a launchpad all at once. It told the world, we are new, but we are here. Yet as time went by, project after project, Xiao Zhan began to build a personal universe that no group could fully contain. Through his roles, his performances, and his ability to connect with audiences in moments of vulnerability and strength, he slowly transformed from a member of a boy group into Xiao Zhan, the artist in his own right. When that label disappeared, some fans felt a pang of loss, because it meant that a shared youth, a period of training and hardship, had truly passed. But at the same time, it carried a sense of pride. He had grown so far that the world no longer needed a prefix to recognize him. The disappearance of the label did not erase his past. It simply acknowledged that he had outgrown the frame that once held him. For many viewers, this is a reminder that every identity we wear has an expiry date. And when we dare to let go, we make room for who we are becoming next. Wang Yibo's journey with the name UNIQ feels different, almost like watching the glow of a distant star that still shines even after the constellation has faded from the sky. For international audiences who first discovered him through his iconic roles, his fearless motorbike races, or his sharp presence on dance shows, the word UNIQ can sound like a soft echo from a time before he stood alone in the center of the frame. Yet for fans who were there at the beginning, UNIQ is not just a group name. It is the memory of their first encounter with a young trainee who had not yet become a global figure. The label sits beside his name like a small, silver pin on a tailored suit. It does not define the entire outfit, but it tells a story to those who know where to look. As his career expands across acting, music, sports, and fashion, the question arises: how long will the world still attach him to UNIQ in their minds? The truth is that for many newer viewers, UNIQ is already a prequel, a prologue that they discover later through clips and archived performances. But for longtime supporters, that era is a sacred foundation. It represents all the rehearsals, disappointments, injuries, and late nights that were necessary before the breakout success of The Untamed and beyond. The last light of UNIQ in his identity may not be about chart positions or official group activities. It is about emotional continuity. As long as there are people who still smile when they hear those early songs, the name UNIQ will continue to live quietly inside Wang Yibo's story, not as a cage, but as proof that great careers often begin in the most fragile of places. Across Asia and the wider world, the idol group system has become one of the most powerful engines for creating stars, yet also one of the most unforgiving. Contracts are signed, trainees are gathered, a catchy name is chosen, and a new group appears under bright lights with flawless styling and rehearsed smiles. To fans, this can look like the beginning of a long journey together, but behind the scenes, everyone involved understands that the lifespan of a group may be much shorter than the dreams attached to it. Markets shift rapidly, attention spans fragment, and new trainees are always waiting in the wings. Labels and agencies design groups as laboratories of potential, a place to test charisma, resilience, and audience reaction. Those who resonate most with the public are given more opportunities. Those who cannot keep up may gradually fade from the front line. It sounds harsh, but within this structure, a group often serves as both a classroom and a battlefield. Young artists learn how to cooperate, how to handle criticism, how to endure exhaustion, and how to stand even when the applause stops. When viewers see a group go quiet or slowly dissolve, it can feel like a broken promise. Yet if we look with more nuance, we see that the group has fulfilled part of its purpose. It has shaped individuals who can now carry their own weight. Labels and names, no matter how iconic, are ultimately tools. They help the industry organize and promote, but they cannot replace the inner work each artist must do. The reality of the industry is not purely cynical. It is a constant negotiation between commercial structures and personal growth, between brand strategy and the very human desire to create something lasting and true. For many viewers, stories about Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo can feel distant, like scenes from another world built on fame, cameras, and red carpets. Yet if we listen carefully, there is a quiet mirror held up to our own lives. Most of us have worn labels that were not of our own choosing. The quiet child, the average student, the person from a small town, the employee in the background rather than the star of the show. At first, these labels can feel comforting because they define a space where we belong. Over time, however, they can become too tight, like clothes that no longer fit the person we are growing into. Watching an artist step away from a group identity can be painful for fans, but it can also be an invitation to reflect. In which parts of our own lives have we stayed small because we were afraid of leaving a familiar role? When an idol dares to step beyond a name, a company, or a formation that used to define them, they are taking a risk. They can no longer rely on the shared attention that a group provides. They must stand in front of an audience as themselves, with all their strengths and all their weaknesses visible. For fans, the lesson here is not just about loyalty. It is about courage. Supporting an artist through such transitions means recognizing that growth often requires letting go. It also means accepting that our own identities are not frozen. We are allowed to evolve, to change direction, to outgrow situations that once felt right. In this way, the journey of an idol is not only entertainment. It becomes a living example of how a person can move from being defined by a label to quietly, steadily defining themselves. One of the most beautiful things about fandom is its capacity to remember. Even when a group stops promoting, fans continue to carry fragments of choreography, lyrics, and behind-the-scenes moments in their minds and on their timelines. Instead of seeing the shift from group to solo as a betrayal of the past, there is an opportunity to turn it into a richer form of celebration. Fans can consciously hold two truths at the same time. The group era and the solo era both matter, and they complete each other. Imagine fan-made projects that trace the arc from a rookie performance on a small stage to a leading role in a major drama. Not to prove that one period was superior to the other, but to show how each step prepared the way for what came next. International fanbases could choose meaningful dates to honor different milestones. The day of group debut and the day of a first major solo award, for example. These anniversaries can anchor collective memory, allowing fans in the United States, Korea, Japan, Australia, France, Canada, Indonesia, and across Europe to participate in a shared rhythm of remembrance and gratitude. Beyond online edits and trends, fandoms can also direct their energy outwards, turning admiration into tangible good. Charity drives, scholarship funds, environmental campaigns, or local community support can be organized under the names associated with both the group and the solo artist. In doing so, fans effectively say, "This music, this story, inspired us to act." That kind of legacy does not depend on whether a group is still active or a prefix is still attached to a name. It thrives because people chose to transform nostalgia into kindness and creativity, proving that the impact of an era can extend far beyond its official timeline. The question of how long the word UNIQ will remain attached to Wang Yibo is, on the surface, a question about branding, but underneath it lies something more human. How long does a beginning stay with us as we move further away from it? In the eyes of algorithms and search trends, labels rise and fall with brutal speed. A name that once dominated charts can become a faint trace in the background as new groups, new faces, and new sounds emerge. Yet human memory does not operate in quite the same way. For some people, UNIQ will always be the doorway through which they entered his world. No matter how many dramas he films or races he wins, their minds will instinctively return to the first time they saw him step onto a stage as part of a 5-member team. For others, particularly newer fans who met him through more recent works, UNIQ may occupy only a few lines in a profile, something they discover after the fact when they decide to explore his past. In both cases, the name still serves a purpose. It marks the starting line. Over time, the emotional weight of the label may soften, but it does not have to disappear entirely. Instead, it can settle into a quiet place in the narrative, like the opening chapter of a book that you no longer reread every day, but whose existence you respect. Perhaps the more meaningful question is not how long UNIQ will last in public discourse, but how gracefully it will be integrated into the story of a man who continued to grow long after the group promotions stopped. If we allow ourselves to see beginnings as foundations rather than prisons, then names like UNIQ do not need to be defended or erased. They can simply be acknowledged as the fragile, brave first steps of someone who still has many miles left to travel. If this episode made you think differently about Xiao Zhan, Wang Yibo, UNIQ, or Xiao, or even about your own labels in life, I would truly love to hear your thoughts. Speech Balloon, tell me in the comments. Do you still introduce them as members of a group? Or are they already, in your mind, fully independent artists? If you enjoyed this calm but honest look behind the scenes of the industry, backhand index pointing right, please like this video. Backhand index pointing right, subscribe to StarWatch Now. Backhand index pointing right and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story from the world of Asian entertainment. Thank you so much for watching, wherever you are, from the US, Korea, Japan, Australia, France, Canada, Indonesia, or anywhere in Europe and beyond. Stay curious, stay kind, and see you in the next episode of StarWatch Now.